Hello, class 12 children. How are you? We have already done three chapters of the contemporary world book. So, today I'll be starting with first chapter of the Indian book, right? That is the challenges of nation building. Now, this is a very, very important chapter as you'll be starting the history of India since independence, the political history of India since independence. So in 1947, India got independence, and with independence, a lot many problems arose and came with the independence or the freedom from the British Empire. Now, we have to discuss, your book discusses three major problems. The first problem is to secure the unity of India. India at that time was divided into British India before independence and the princely states. I'll discuss what princely states are later in this lecture only. To keep India united, to keep India in unison, to keep India intact and save it from any fragmentation, this was the first challenge. The second challenge was the challenge of bringing and maintaining democracy. If you just look into the history of India since Mauryan Empire till the British Empire, in all those years, around 3,000 years, none was the time when India was a democratic state. It was under monarchy all the time. So bringing a new system of democracy in 1947 and making such a diverse country, such a country with Herculean differences on all the bases: caste, color, creed, region, languages, food, dress. So that was a very, very big task to bring democracy, let the people understand what is democracy, and to maintain it. Because most of the Afro-Asian countries that got independence started with a democracy, but within 5 years, 10 years, they moved on, transformed or mutated to dictatorships or monarchies. So to maintain democracy was the second challenge. And the third challenge was the colonial government had stripped India of everything, all resources, monetary part, economic status. Industrialization was there, but it was only for the welfare of the British. So India was a broken country. Widespread illiteracy, irrationalism, religious confrontations and tensions, riots, very low per capita income, next to nil industrialization. Agriculture was very primitive, substantial. Progress didn't take place. It was a subsistence type of agriculture. So all these problems the new government of India had to fight. So what I want you to understand is that today we have got all the right to criticize the government. This is happening, that is happening, India is not developing. But from the time of independence, the status of India and today, we have made a lot of progress, right? So these were the three challenges. I'll recapitulate. One, the challenge of unity. Second, the challenge of bringing and maintaining democracy. And third, the challenge of eradicating the differences and the problems that India was suffering with, like illiteracy or communalism or economic stagnancy or agricultural stagnancy or industrial mismanagement, or lower production, all those. Now, 1947 also saw a very, very, very big event. Big, painful, heartbreaking, and inhuman. and that was the Partition of India. Now, Partition of India, if I start up, I can very easily say that India was divided into a secular India and an Islamic Pakistan. We have to be very careful. Don't use Hindu India. It is secular India and an Islamic Pakistan. But that saying this in words is very easy. It doesn't solve the purpose. So we have to understand what partition was, why it was, and how it took place, and what were the repercussions or consequences or impacts on India. And these impacts were not only economic or political or social, they were emotional, they were psychic, they were they caused neuro problems at a later stage. So it was not a small event, and so we'll discuss partition. Now, way back in 1906, Muslim League was incepted to represent the Indian Muslims in India, because Congress was never, that was Indian National Congress, that was made in 1885 under the guidance of A.O. Hume, was never a communal body. It was a secular body, but Indian Muslims thought that it is pro-Hindu. That was not right. But they thought they need another organization to represent the Indian Muslims in India. So they made a new body, a new organization called the Muslim League in 1906. Now, many concessions were given to Muslims in India by the British. By, say, 1909, there was a Moral and Mental Reforms, Government of India Act 1909, which gave a communal representation or reservation of seats to the Muslims. Then this communal reservation or reservation of seats was extended to more percentage in 1919 Government of India Act, also known as Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. The Congress was unhappy, but it couldn't do anything. Right. But the seed of difference was sown between Congress and Muslim League from 1906 itself. So Indian Muslims thought that though Indian Muslims were part of Congress, like Abdul Kalam Azad and other Muslims, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, they were members of Congress. But the mass, the Muslim mass, the Islamic mass took Muslim League as its savior or its organization or representative body. In 1947, under the leader of Muslim League, Mr. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, though to the utter unhappiness of Mahatma Gandhi, he didn't want the partition. So first, be clear, some people say about Mahatma Gandhi. I'll tell you, Mahatma Gandhi didn't ever approve partition. He always wanted a unified India, so that the Muslims and Hindus and all the religious people, all the people of the different sects can live peacefully in a harmonious way with solidarity and egalitarianism in India. But somewhat Gandhi wasn't heard at that time, and there was a decision made by Mountbatten Plan for the partition of India. Now, Mountbatten Plan I'll discuss again when I start the next topic. Now, how the partition shall be taken or made. Now, it was very haphazard way. Most of the Muslims, now this is incorrect to say, because Muslims and Hindus are in a very complex way living in each and every part of the country. We can't say that Tamil Nadu doesn't have Muslims. We can't say that Karnataka doesn't have Muslims. We can't say Kerala doesn't have Muslims. We can't say Maharashtra doesn't have Muslims. We can't say Assam doesn't have Muslims. They do have. But the entire India could not be divided on that basis, right? So, broadly, western part of India and the eastern part of India. That was mainly dominated by Muslims. That was to be cut off, bifurcated from India, and made into a new country called Pakistan. Right? So it was today's Pakistan and today's Bangladesh. Bangladesh till 1971 was a part of Pakistan. So Pakistan was divided into two parts: Western Pakistan, today's Pakistan, and Eastern Pakistan is today's Bangladesh. Right? You will learn the Bangladesh crisis when I'll teach the chapter of the next book, the previous one, the Contemporary World book. Now this partition was very haphazard until night of 14th August 1947. Nobody knew that partition, what is partition, how it would be taking place, which are the areas that would be partitioned. So it was a very problematic situation. So you can imagine a person who's saying I'm an Indian at 11 p.m. on 14th August has to say after 2 hours at 1 a.m. on 15th that I'm a Pakistani. So that was a very haphazard decision, and most of the people were illiterate. They were unable to read newspaper and listen to the news, so they were unable to understand what is partition and how they have to go. But they were just told to leave the place where they have been born, where they were brought up, where they played with their friends, irrespective of religion, Hindu, Sikh, Christians. They had to leave. Hindus had to leave in the Pakistan, from the Pakistani areas, and Muslims had to leave from the Indian areas. So it was a very, very hard reckoning process. Partition took a toll of more than 6 million people, and the most sufferers were women and children. Women were abducted, they were raped, they were put to all the stringent problems. Men were killed, children were orphaned. So all that problem took place, right? So it became very difficult to partition hearts and to partition people socially, because today Lahore and Amritsar might be in Pakistan and India respectively, but Lahore also eats chole bhature, and in Amritsar also they eat chole bhature. They also speak Punjabi, Lahorians. Amritsarians also speak Punjabi, Urdu and Punjabi mix, right? So the difference was just the political boundary, the culture, the socialization, the dress, the food, the thoughts, the language could not be partitioned. So it was a very haphazard way to partition. But partition was done. It was done. And Pakistan into two areas, like the West Pakistan, that is today's Pakistan, as I've already told you, and East Pakistan, that is today's Bangladesh, was created. And both Bangladesh at that time was a part of Pakistan, and India was there. So partition was, the consequences of partition were very gruesome. Like I've told about women, children, men, industries were divided. Most of the fertile land remained in India. Most of the industries went to Pakistan. That made tremendous pressure on Indian government. The to establish industries. Economic breakdown was there. Monetary breakdown was there. Population wasn't divided according to the resources. So all these problems India had to face because of partition. So partition was a very, very gruesome thing, and if you're lucky to have your grandparents with you who have seen that time, you can discuss with them, and then you will come to know what were the pains of partition, that sitting in a room comfortably, and you also sitting in the room listening to me, and I'm speaking, narrating this topic to you, that can't do justice to the topic. But I'm going according to the syllabi. So that's all. So one more thing became very, very important after this partition, and that was the problem of princely states. Now be very careful. I'm explaining what is princely state. when India got divided, independent, India was divided into two broader bifurcations. One was India that was directly ruled by the British, and the second were some principalities or kingdoms that were in the Indian boundary, but they were never under the British Empire, just gave British Empire taxes. Like you must have learned subsidiary alliances, right? So actually they were somewhat under British, but on paper, theoretically, they were independent kingdoms, right? So when independence was announced, it was announced that Britishers are freeing. Be very careful here. Listen carefully. It was announced that the British Empire is freeing British India. And that meant that only half of the India around that was under the British Empire was being freed, and half of the India that was divided into 550 approximate principalities or kingdoms were independent. So now you can, like Hyderabad, like Manipur, like Junagadh, like Jammu Kashmir, right? Like Travancore. So these were in the map of India, but independent kingdoms. So today you can understand what India would have been if these countries would have remained independent under their kings. Right. So British India was only the half of India that was freed in 1947, and princely states, the Mountbatten Plan said that the princely states can make three choices: one, join India; two, join Pakistan; three, remain independent. And howsoever small the kingdom is, no king would like to come under the jurisdiction of India and Pakistan. So most of them decided to remain independent, and that was undone. Now the role of Sardar Patel comes. Sardar Patel, with all his acumen, all his power, he's called the Iron Man of India, uh, brought all the princely states into the Indian Union. And today's India, we are thankful to Sardar Patel for bringing all the princely states under India. So the first case of princely state that we'll discuss is Hyderabad. Hyderabad is not today's Hyderabad. Hyderabad was a very, very big kingdom that consisted parts of today's Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, even Kerala. Right. And its king decided, Nizam of Hyderabad decided that we would remain independent of the India and Pakistan. We will remain an independent kingdom. But that Sardar Patel wasn't ready for that, because we can't have an independent kingdom inside the map of India. That would create a lot of problem. And how can we have a foreign country inside our territory? Right. So Sardar Patel requested the Nizam, gave him incentives, everything, but Nizam didn't get ready. So the faction of Indian National Congress and some regional parties inside Hyderabad started revolting against the Nizam's rule that we want to join India. And Nizam uh, resorted to massacre, a massacre of innocent people. Yet again, the women were the sufferers. Women were ruined, raped, maimed, people were killed, and the army of Nizam was known as Razakars. So Razakars very brutally treated the people. The people of Hyderabad uh, requested the Indian government to step into the situation, as inhuman conditions were persistent and humanity was being negated. So Indian government sent its army. Within few days, the Hyderabad Razakars were defeated, and Nizam was made to sign the treaty with India that it is joining the Indian Union, and that those treaties which the princely states signed with India, that they are joining India, these treaties are called the instruments of accession, right? Instruments of accession. The next case is Manipur. Manipur is a very, very interesting case. Its king was Bodha Chandra Singh. And Manipur was the first state to have a legislative assembly in India. And in 1947-48, they voted. The legislative assembly voted that they don't want to be a part of the Indian Union, but Bodha Chandra Singh wanted to be a part of the Indian Union, and thus Bodha Chandra Singh, without consulting the Legislative Assembly of Manipur, signed the instrument of accession with Sardar Patel of the Union of India. Manipur people didn't like it, their representatives didn't like it, but India brought Manipur as a part of India. So now also we can see the repercussions of that undemocratic seizure of Manipur, right? So today also there is insurgency in Manipur. Now the next topic that I want to discuss is how India was made a truly federal country. A truly federal country is a country where a big country is divided into many small units called provinces or states. Now, way back in 1920s, Jawaharlal Nehru had pledged and promised the people of India that when India will get independence, we will provide you with your own units, your own areas where you are in majority, so that no other culture may supersede you or impact you in a negative way. But as India got independence, Nehru kept on pushing this issue forward because he didn't want to bifurcate India because he was fearful that this can break India into new countries. The small areas which he gives autonomy may break away, maybe secede from India, become factions. Now, there was a movement started in late 1940s and early 1950s called the Vishalandhra movement. Vishalandhra movement means the Telugu-speaking people of Madras. Now, Madras was not today's Madras or Chennai. Madras was a very big province made by the British that consisted today's parts of Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and all the adjoining areas, even parts of Maharashtra as well. Right. So, Telugu-speaking people started revolting against the Indian government that we want our own area as promised by you. Indian government didn't give a heed. They thought that these type of small movements come and go. But there was a person called Poti Sima Rulu. He was the leader of the Vishalandhra movement. He went on hunger strike. And the government of India thought that, okay, fine, he'll stop and he'll defer from the strike. But he died after around 54, 55 days. I'm not having statistical insight about that. When he died, the movement took a violent turn and there were riots in that area. So Indian government now got into action. And in 1953, it organized a new commission called the State Reorganization Commission to divide India into states. Now, what was the basis of dividing India? Should we divide states on the basis of religion? Should we divide states on the basis of caste? Should we divide India on the basis of festivals? What? So ultimately, it was divided that India can be divided. It was devised that India can be divided into smaller provincial units, that is, we'll call states in future, on the basis of language, right? Linguistic states. So Telugu-speaking area was made as Andhra Pradesh. Malayalam-speaking area was made Kerala. Tamil-speaking area was called Tamil Nadu. Karnataka was Kannada-speaking. The same way, India got many states. This was State Reorganization Commission, right? So in India, the federalism works on the basis of linguistic states. So that was the language policy. And you must have read in 10 that we don't have any national language. We just have official language Hindi. So it is only spoken by 40% of the people. So we can't make India as Hindi as an official language of India. So very quickly, I tried to explain this chapter to you. Now, as I request, always please be careful. Listen to this lecture once, twice, thrice, any times you like. That's why I try to record my videos and not go online. Live teaching, because live teaching you can't and listen again and again, but this may prove to be more beneficial. And then flip the pages of your book, see that what is in the book. I have covered all the topics, but they might not be in as detail as they are in book. Go through the book, and very soon I'll be sending you some material over the same chapter. So, this is the challenges of nation building, first chapter of your book, Politics in India Since Independence. God bless you. Stay safe and happy learning.